Tonight we're in St. Petersburg at Tropicana Field. It's the same old ballpark that's been here for years, but for the first time it's a major league venue with housing the new Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Here's the look inside. It's a bright ballpark and a big crowd is gathering. Sunday night baseball, the Anaheim Angels and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Hello everyone, I'm John Miller. Welcome to our telecast. And the Devil Rays, one of the hottest expansion teams for the first 3 weeks of any expansion season. They were 10-6, but they've lost 4 of their last 5. Perhaps a little reality setting in. Tonight they'll send the former Anaheim Angel, Dennis Springer, a knuckleballer against his old ball club, the Angels. And my partner Joe Morgan met with Darren Erstad and Jim Edmonds at the batting cage to ask him about it.
Darren, have you faced many knuckleball pitchers, and how have you done against them?
I haven't faced too many. Wakefield's the only guy I faced in pro ball, and he's got me quite a few times. But you just try and make him get the ball up and get on top of the plate and look to get it before it breaks.
Well, that's interesting. You get on top of the plate. Jim, you got a game plan?
What I try to do is really not swing too hard. I think the less effort you put in your swing, obviously the less your body and your head move. And I've done pretty well with that approach, especially against Wakefield. And I faced Dennis earlier in the minor leagues. So that's my approach, is just try to hit the ball up the middle, left center field.
Do you ever look for a fastball?
No, never.
All right, he might occasionally see a fastball, but mostly it's going to be the knuckleball, Dennis Springer. It's interesting that the young guy had a plan about it too, Joe.
Well, it was great. The Angels think that Darren Erstad is going to be the next super player in the American League. And when you're a young guy like he is, he's faced Tim Wakefield before, but only one other knuckleball pitcher, and he has a game plan. He's going to move closer to the plate, try to hit everything back through the middle.
All right, now Jack McDowell is pitching for the Angels, and after Chuck Finley and Ken Hill, the Angels have been struggling. McDowell, however, at times has been great, and at other times he's gotten clobbered.
Well, I've watched him pitch a couple of times this year, John, and on both occasions he seemed to get better as the game went along. He's trying to learn to pitch all over again. Remember, he missed most of last season, and the toughest thing for him to do is to get guys out the way he did before with about 90% of the stuff he had before.
And they need the strong pitching right now. Tim Salmon out of the lineup. They have not been scoring many runs. The Angels and Devil Rays coming up. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Consort, hairspray, mousse, and gel, because guys' hair is different. When we come back, it's the Angels with Darren Erstad and Jim Edmonds taking on the Devil Rays. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays are taking the field at Tropicana Field here in St. Petersburg, an indoor ballpark, and for the first time in more than 30 years, you got an artificial turf surface with the dirt where dirt is supposed to be. Here in the standings now in the West, Texas won again today, the Red Hot Rangers. The Angels are just kind of holding their own, even though they've been struggling offensively, in particular 3.5 games out. So they very much would like to beat the expansion team while they're here. And also considering the fact that Terry Collins saw the expansion team, the Devil Rays, come to Anaheim and win 3 out of 4 last week. Terry Collins, the manager of the Angels, starting his 2nd year at the helm. And tonight against the knuckleballer Dennis Springer, who used to be one of his own starting pitchers. Here's the Pepsi batting order that Terry Collins is putting out there. Darren Erstad leads off at first base, and this guy is not your quintessential leadoff man. He has a lot of power and will probably end up hitting well down in the order, but he always gets on base as well. Dave Hollins at third base, Jim Edmonds in center field. Cecil Fielder opening with an early season slump, but he had a big hit last night. Garrett Anderson in left field. Phil Nevin is the catcher, hitting 6th. Damon Mayshore in place of the injured Tim Salmon in right field. Carlos Garcia, the former Pittsburgh Pirate, at second base. And Gary DiSarcina hits 9th at shortstop. And on the mound, there's the former Angel, the knuckleballer Dennis Springer.
And Dennis Springer not only throws a knuckleball, he will throw a fastball and a slider on occasion. Not a real good fastball, about 80 miles an hour. But his main pitch is his knuckleball, and he will change speeds on his knuckleball. Kind of reminds me of Phil Niekro. He used to change speeds on his, but a lot of knuckleball pitchers throw him pretty much the same speed. And let's take a look at the defense for the Devil Rays. Very good defense. They have played very good baseball, and especially at shortstop and second base, they lead the American League in double plays, and most of that comes from Stocker and Cairo at second base. So pretty good defense, which is important on an AstroTurf ball field. You can't give the other team a lot of extra outs.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how this turf plays. We understand the turf is very springy, very fast, but Kevin Stocker, whom you just saw there fielding an infield grounder for practice, said that it has not been a problem with ground balls coming off the turf onto the dirt. So we'll see. Drew Coble, Dale Ford, a young Marty Foster, and Larry Young, the umpiring crew for the ball game tonight. Dennis Springer, he is 33 years of age, out of Fresno State. Now, it might seem like he's younger because he did not reach the big leagues until just 3 years ago. He was 30 years of age before he ever got a shot in the big leagues. When he did, he was with the Phillies. Darren Erstad leads it off against him. And we'll see about Erstad's plan here, Joe. He is up toward the front of the batter's box, as you can see. What about the plan for the catcher? Mike DeFelice doing the catching. Well, that one certainly seemed to answer the question as to just how much movement he could expect to get indoors here.
And that's always a good question. A lot of knuckleball pitchers will tell you they like to throw against the wind. It'll give it a little more movement on the knuckleball. Obviously not a lot of wind here in Tropicana Field.
Yeah, it seems like a real hardly any wind at all so far that except when we were standing next to that one air conditioning duct. 1 ball, 1 strike to Darren Erstad.
And a lot of hitters do a lot of different things against knuckleball pitchers. You know, they'll move closer to the pitcher, which makes the ball speed up and to something they're more used to.
That's hit hard into center field, and Darren Erstad gets a base hit.
That was a high knuckleball. Didn't do a lot, but that's what Darren Erstad said he was going to try to do, stay on top of it and hit the ball back through the middle. And there's a knuckleball. It just drops a little bit, but Erstad right on it, lines it into center field for a base hit. See where he is in the batter's box. Long stride, but he whips the bat through and lines it into center field for a base hit.
Now here is Dave Hollins.
Interesting, Hollins is hitting right-handed against Springer.
He's a switch hitter, and invariably against a right-hander he would be swinging left-handed.
Yeah.
But this is the one time, and you'll see other hitters occasionally do this as well, because I think some of them, Joe, they don't want to have their timing ruined. Yeah. A bunt, and he's got excellent speed. Bobby Smith bounces one over there. McGriff can't handle it.
Well, maybe that's why he wanted to do it. Keep the third baseman back and drop it down. Good bunt. In fact, it's very difficult to bunt a knuckleball sometimes. He doesn't square all the way around, but he dumps it down the line. Smith gets it in time, but his off-balance throw bounces in front of McGriff. McGriff tries to come up with it, but he cannot. And a good throw would have had him. And they're going to call that an error. Score that an error.
They're going to give Hollins credit for a sacrifice and charge the third baseman Smith with an error. Although, had he just set himself and made a normal throw over there, I think Hollins would have beaten it out. Now Jim Edmonds, knuckler, flutters through there for a strike. Now Edmonds is struggling. The wrist that he injured a week ago, actually 8 days ago in Anaheim, in a game against the Devil Rays, has been plaguing him all week long. That would disappear. Strike 2.
If there's a plus, you know, to having a bad wrist, it's his right wrist, and he's a left-handed hitter. You pull the bat through with your bottom hand rather than swing over the top with your top hand.
2 strikes the count. That was a fastball, and he will occasionally try to sneak a fastball by him after all of those slow knucklers. That one, on the other hand, is only fast in relationship to his knuckleball. That was 79 miles an hour. 2 men on, nobody out for the Angels. And the runners will hold. Erstad really wanted to go to third, but then just figured he didn't have a clear shot at it, so he went back to second.
I was watching Edmonds on Wednesday swing the bat, and like I said, he just tries to pull the bat through, whereas if it's your top hand, you try to roll it over, you get more pain. That's not to say it's not painful, because once he lets go with the top hand, all the pressure goes on his bottom hand, and you'll see him release the bat every once in a while. And when you make contact, you're better off being your bottom hand.
2 men on, nobody out. And he fouls that one down off his foot. 2-2 the count to Edmonds. There is Darren Erstad, who singled to center. He's at second base. Hollins, who got the bunt single, is at first, or they scored in an error.
Let's take a look at this swing by Edmonds. And you can see that he does grimace after he swings the bat.
And he struck him out. So big strikeout for Springer.
Well, it's his knuckleball, and you can see the rotation, the lack of rotation. Then all of a sudden it tumbles and goes down and away from the left-handed hitter.
It's kind of a pitch that comes in. Looks like the guy would like to swing at it 2 or 3 times. Just keep swinging until you finally get it. Now Cecil fielding. 2 men on with 1 man out. And Springer bluffs Erstad back to second.
Cecil has been swinging the bat better the last couple of days than he was earlier in the year. He said he felt a little more at ease at the plate.
Drove in 3 runs here last night. A single and a double. That knuckler flutters in there too high. That was his hard knuckler. 67 miles an hour. You know, you mentioned Phil Niekro, and when Springer was with the Phillies organization, they were going to bring him up, and they brought Phil Niekro in, and he worked with him for a brief time. Fielder cracks one in the left field, a base hit. Erstad is going to be held at third. Now that one got there in a hurry to the left fielder, Rich Butler, and the bases are loaded.
That's another reason right there why you need to have speed if you're going to be the Devil Rays over the course of the, of their history. They're going to need to have speedy players so you can score on AstroTurf singles, because it is difficult to score. See Cecil field a beautiful swing there, rips it into left field for a base hit, but see how quickly the ball gets out there, and Butler comes up and fires to the cutoff man, and they have to hold Erstad at third base.
But even without getting the run there, Terry Collins has to be well pleased to see Cecil starting to make solid contact. Garrett Anderson is a foul. Anderson, 275 average. The Angels have had a hard time scoring runs. The run crazy American League, they're only averaging a little over 4.5 runs per game.
Well, they have not been consistent, from top to bottom in their lineup. Tim Salmon got off to his usual slow start, although he's hit a few home runs. In fact, he hit a home run on Wednesday and had to leave the ball game when he was in his trot because of his foot injury that is keeping him out of the lineup. Garrett Anderson has not been, real consistent. And of course, Cecil has struggled a little bit.
Only Detroit and Toronto have scored fewer runs in the American League than have the Angels.
But I wouldn't worry about their offense. They've got some good hitters on this ball club.
That is also just foul. Trent McGriff very happy that both of them were foul because they were just right by him in a hurry. Runners have to return. Erstad back to third base. Hollins back to second, and Cecil Fielder back to first. 3 men on, only 1 man out.
The one thing you will always see when you have an AstroTurf grass part here and then a dirt field is that the ball will always go through there very quickly. It always will be a fast infield because it comes off of that turf quick and then it hits the dirt. It just kind of keeps going. So it's going to always be a fast infield here at Tropicana Field.
2 strikes the count. Popped it up. The infield fly roll is in effect. Fred McGriff handles it anyway. Another big out for Springer.
That was a good, smart pitch there from Springer. What he did there, John, he took something off. It was more like a changeup. The other 2 speeds, Garrett Anderson just pulled a foul, so he takes a little bit more off, so you get the pop-up. This one's a little slower, than the other ones. And watch how Aaron, see how he's way out in front. The other ones he was right on them, so he takes a little bit off and he pops it up. Good smart pitch there from Springer.
Now Phil Nevin, 78, 3 homers, 7 RBIs, 3 men on, 2 men out. That one just does get away from DeFelice, but not far enough for Erstad to try anything from third base. There's Larry Rothschild wearing the jacket. He was the first-year Devil Rays manager. He was the pitching coach, of course, for the world champion Florida Marlins last year. A high pop-up down the right field line, foul ground. McGriff a long run, can't get there. I don't know, 5 years ago maybe Freddie gets in there.
That was a tough play for a first baseman, right down the right field line. There's a lot of room in foul territory here on both sides of the field. Near the dugouts, a lot of room to field the fly balls, pop-ups that are foul.
And a big moment of this game right away, as Fred McGriff unable to get down there quickly enough. Evans still up there, 1 ball, 1 strike. The Angels with a great opportunity to score, but 2 men are gone. 3 base runners. Wow. That pitch looked illegal to me, Joe. 1-2 the count.
The great thing about a knuckleball, the way that he uses it, sometimes it gets you with the movement of the pitch, which is what happens here. The movement is what fools him here. You see, it's a lot of movement on that pitch, and the speed is what fooled Garrett Anderson.
2 strikes, 1 ball. That was close. Fans wanted that call. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nevin, the 6th batter of the inning. The Angels have a shot here with Erstad, Hollins, and Fielder, the runners, to jump out to a big lead early. They have not scored yet. Well, almost hit it. And you can see how much movement the ball has from our center field camera there. And if you're not quite sure, well, just the problems that DeFelice has had catching it, pitch after pitch after pitch, will tell you that ball is moving considerably.
Well, the catcher doesn't know where it's going any more than the hitter does.
That one hit him. 3-2. The runners ready to take off now, and Springer looks them all back. And DeFelice caught that. That ball caught him. The runners go. Gee, struck him out on a pitch that almost hit him. The Angels do not score. The Devil Rays are coming up. No score. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball from, for the first time, Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. No score in the game. Here's the Tampa Bay Devil Rays Pepsi batting order. Quentin McCracken leads off in center field. Miguel Cairo at second base. Veteran Dave Martinez right field. And Fred McGriff, the slugger who has come home. And they really know how to make a guy feel at home. Here at his new home ballpark, he's hitting .452. Paul Sorrento, the DH, powerful former Mariner. Bobby Smith in place of the injured Wade Boggs at third base. He's done a great job. Rich Butler, the former Blue Jay, in left field. Mike DeFelice, the former Cardinal, is the catcher. They're all former something. And Kevin Stocker, the former Phil, is at shortstop, batting ninth. On the mound, the veteran Black Jack McDowell, trying to come back from elbow surgery.
Well, John, he's got a good fastball. His fastball is still coming in the high 80s, maybe reach 90s every once in a while. He has a good splitter still. You know, his problem has been just learning to cope with pressure situations and learning to pitch all over again.
Quentin McCracken, very high for ball 1. Down 88 miles an hour, and that's not far off from where he used to be.
This guy here is very exciting to watch, John. I think he brings a real charisma to this ball club.
And that one is in there. Strike.
Even though he's not your typical leadoff man in that he doesn't walk, but he brings a lot of excitement and he makes things happen. And as long as you're hitting well over 300, I guess it doesn't matter whether you walk or not.
Well, that's pretty exciting. Off the pitch, foul, and back out of play. Now McCracken, 357 average, 12 RBIs. Out of Duke University, great all-round athlete. from high school. He was the starting point guard at his high school in North Carolina. He was the quarterback in football. He ran track in his spare time, played shortstop in baseball. He's always been an outfielder in the big leagues.
Yeah, but John, I think I could post him up. He doesn't look that big.
Yeah, you could dunk over him easy.
I didn't say dunk. I said post him up.
No, you could you'd stuff it. You know, he was also a good student, and I guess we should know that since he went to Duke.
Yeah.
His mother
Makes sense.
was an elementary school teacher for 28 years. That one is back out of play, so he's battling it out here with Jack McDowell. He said that his mother used to tell him, she said, Quentin, they will always eventually take the ball away from you, but they can never take the education away from you. And he said that somehow that hit home. He got a 1200 in his SAT score. And when bounces in there, he tried to throw him a curveball, missed badly with it. He got his degree, did Quentin McCracken, in political science and history. So we got the Stanford guy facing the Duke guy here. McCracken, Devers must have thought highly of him. He was their second pick in the expansion draft. He's excited just the way he waves the bat back and forth between pitches, Joe. And he gets the walk. And he earned it. He battled him for that walk. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
Yeah,
He didn't earn the walk.
John, I saw the ball count was 2-2. I said, well, either I'm wrong or either McCracken is wrong. And since he went to Duke, I didn't want to challenge him. Since I always went to Cal State Hayward, you know. But I thought it was 2-2.
The scoreboard in the ballpark had it at 3-2.
No, that was his number up there. His at bat is 3. See, I think that's where he got confused. He looked up and he saw his number, and it was 3-2.
No, that's his SAT score. 3-2 to the best of our knowledge is now currently the count.
We should have known better. He's only walked one time so far this year.
So he's not a walker. He's up there to hack. And he hacks one deep to center field. Edmonds hits over his head. He's off and will hold at second base. The relay bobbled out there. So as it turned out, he could have made it.
Well, I'm sure he's glad he didn't walk. A double is always better than a single. He ripped the ball. Edmonds was playing in shallow, not respecting his power. It's a 3-2 fastball from McDowell on the inner half of the plate. And watch now, this is what's interesting about this ballpark. It doesn't bounce over the fence. A lot of ballparks, this ball would have bounced over the fence, a lot of AstroTurf parks. And you can see the speed here. I thought he was going to go for 3 right about there. And then he decides to slow up. And he goes with the old adage, you do not want to make the first out or the last out at third base.
This is Miguel Cairo, and the throw down to second base by Phil Nevin. Easily back McCracken. McCracken has stolen 4 bases for the Devil Rays and has not been caught. No score in the game. Miguel Cairo hitting .328. The team is hitting .305. Second best in the majors. That's called a strike on the outside. 4-1 strike. Greg Riddock, by the way, the third base coach. So, Joe, if you're running out of triple, are you just on your own, or do you pick up your coach as you're coming around second?
Well, with the ball in front of him like that, I think he could make the decision on his own. See how far the ball was. But a lot of, I think as a leadoff hitter, he should know his speed and his limitations. As long as the ball's in front of you, make your own decision.
Ball 2-1.
This is a situation that puts a lot of pressure on the infield, and that's what Larry Rothschild tries to do anyway with this ball club. Put a lot of pressure on the defense. First of all, Hollins has to be aware that McCracken could steal third base, so he can't get in too tight, and that leaves third base open a little bit if he drops it down the third base line. It also puts a lot of pressure on the other infielders trying to cover up.
No score in the game. Runner at second, nobody out. Now that is a nice bunt. McDowell hurries just in time. Second baseman Garcia there to take the throw. Over to third base is McCracken.
Well, Cairo does a good job of getting this ball down. He deadens it. It hits right off the dirt. Bounces out in front of the plate. Actually, this is a very good play by McDowell because that was not an easy play for a pitcher to make.
So Cairo does what he was asked to do. And now with one out, running at third base, the infield will stay back except for the third baseman, Dave Hollins. And here is Dave Martinez. Martinez, 303 average. Right now in the Devil Rays, that's just about average. 305. I'm impressed by this, Joe. I'm going to mention it many times. 305 team average up till now.
Well, one thing about the Devil Rays, they have a good mix of veterans and young players. And all of them are doing well right now.
Larry Rothschild, who has been well pleased with their approach to the game, how hard they've been playing. He says that really the fact they've lost 4 out of their last 5 is not disturbing, because every team, even the best teams, will have stretches like that. But he's very pleased that they've continued. Their approach to the game has not changed. Wow. Blew that one by.
I believe that's why the veteran leadership comes in handy. Can you imagine Freddie McGriff ever getting upset? I mean, Freddie McGriff is going to be on an even keel, whether he's hitting 220 or 320. You will not know the difference. And that's what veterans will do for you. They'll help keep the young players calm.
2-1 on the count. McGriff on deck. Misses 3-1. There's McGriff. Back home. Grew up here. Runner at third. 1 out. No score in the game. The infield is back in normal depth, except Hollins at third, who's in shallow. And let me just double check. That is a walk for Dave Martinez. I'm almost positive.
Well, Martinez has had some success against McDowell. He's 7 for 20. So McDowell sure is aware of that. So he pitched him very carefully.
Fred McGriff. He is one of only 2 active players who played for at least 10 years who has never been in a ball club that has had a losing record.
Man.
Where Fred McGriff goes, victories seem to follow. And back to the bag at first is Dave Martinez. Martinez with 3 steals so far. He's been caught twice, and Quentin McCracken, the very speedy leadoff man, is over third base. Fred McGriff standing in. That is into right field. McCracken scores. 1-0 Tampa Bay. RBIs already for McGriff this year.
Well, McDowell tried to get him to hit it on the ground. He wants to throw a sinker away, and this ball moves away, but McGriff goes out and gets it and just rips it back. And you see the good plate coverage there by McGriff. A lot of times last year he said he was pulling off, but this year he's staying right there, and he just ripped that ball in the left field, on right field.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Here's Paul Sorrento now. And the curveball low and inside. Remember last year, the first half of the season, that's the kind of ball if McGriff was popping up
exactly,
or hitting into a double play.
Well, he said that, you know, he was just pulling off, and he was opening his hips a little too quickly last year. Obviously, they're staying in there this year.
Paul Sorrento. And another curveball, this one for a strike. Sorrento, one of the few Devil Rays off to a real slow start. He got 1 home run, 5 RBIs. The guy hit 31 home runs for the Mariners last year.
And a lot of people think this is a perfect ballpark for Sorrento.
There's the splitter. Still got a good one. 1 ball and 2 strikes. The 2 runners, as you see, Martinez at second, McGriff at first. Sorrento, by the way, has 4 lifetime home runs against McDowell and only 38 at-bats, as you see right there. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Back out of play. 1-0. And this, you talk about key moments in games. I mean, this game it may end up 15-14 for all we know, and we'll hardly even remember this inning. But the Angels had the bases loaded and 1 out, and their big guys up there, and they didn't score. And right away, McCracken hits a leadoff double for the Devil Rays, and just like that, they get him home. Strike 3 called on the inside. Sorrento is a little upset about that call by Drew Coleman.
Well, Jack McDowell set him up pretty well then. He threw him a splitter to get ahead, strike 2. So deep in the back of your mind, Sorrento's still looking for that splitter, and he just throws a fastball on the inside part of the plate for strike 3.
Now here's Bobby Smith. This guy given a shot because of the injury suffered by Wade Boggs. Boggs is not due back. Here's Wade. Not scheduled to get back off the disabled list until May the 2nd next weekend. The curveball misses ball 1. This guy is hitting .368. Of course, the guy is replacing. Pretty good hitter as well, and one who is not accustomed to being on the disabled list. Pretty remarkable record right there. Guy who's kept himself in pretty good condition, I would say. Also returning home. He grew up here in the Tampa Bay area. Bobby Smith grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area from Oakland. Back to the bag at second, Dave Martinez. Griffith first, 2 on, 2 out. A run is in. Joe, this guy did not have very strong minor league numbers, which makes it kind of a mystery how he's doing so well here. Heading over to third is Martinez. McGriff held at first. Wild pitch by McDowell as McGriff got over at first base.
Well, McDowell tried to throw a splitter there, and it bounced. But it's difficult for McGriff at first base to go. He has to look and make sure Martinez goes before he can take off. And then he looked up, and it was a little too late. Ball bounces away, and right away Martinez is going. But McGriff always have to wait until the runner in front of you breaks before you can take off.
2 balls, no strikes to Bobby Smith, carrying that .368 average up there. Smith, only 23 years of age, out of the Braves farm system. And although he didn't often have a very strong batting average in the minor leagues, everywhere they loved his glove, his arm, his speed. You see his numbers just last year in AAA. Well, he gets a walk. The bases are loaded. And Phil Nevin out to the mound to talk to Jack McDowell.
The last time I saw McDowell pitch, he got off to a slow start. He got out of trouble, and then after that, he pitched very well. So it's up to the Devil Rays. They're going to have to try to get him early because he seems to get better as the game goes along.
Well, you see right there, he's struggled big time in this inning. 28 pitches. Martinez at third, McGriff at second, Smith at first, and all 3 of them running anything here with 2 down. Rich Butler. A strike to the outside. Nice pitch. Rich Butler, 268, 3 home runs, as you see. He was the most valuable player for the Syracuse club last year, the AAA affiliate of the Toronto Blue Jays. Right back to our left and out of play. So quickly, in this big spot, where the Devil Rays have a chance to open up and get a big inning, McDowell is ahead of Butler here, 0-2. This is one of those innings. The score could already be like 4-4 with a couple of hits on both sides at the right time. Past McDowell, but right there is DeSarcina So they get the force out on Smith and the inning is over. Both teams leave them loaded in the first. 1-0 Tampa Bay. John Miller and Joe Morgan with you from St. Petersburg, Florida. Sunday Night Baseball. Now coming up on Wednesday night, it'll be Ken Griffey Jr. and the Seattle Mariners at Yankee Stadium in New York. Chuck Knobloch, Derek Jeter, Tino Martinez, the Yanks, who are sizzling hot right now, and the Mariners, who are struggling. They got shut out at home today by the Minnesota Twins' Brad Radke. It'll be 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. As we watch Damon Mayshore stand in, playing in place of the injured Tim Salmon. 1-0 Tampa Bay leading. Dennis Springer on the hill, and he misses for a ball. 2-0 to Mayshore. Carlos Garcia on deck, and then Gary DiSarcina. Ball strike to the outside.
That was a little slider over the outside part of the plate. It wasn't a knuckleball.
Well, when he first signed, he would throw a fastball and a slider and only an occasional knuckleball. But in 1988, the Dodgers told him, why don't you just put that fastball and the slider on the shelf and just throw the knuckleball all the time? What do you think? That's hit deep down the right field line, but foul. 3-2 the count to Mayshore. And he didn't think it would be that big of a problem, although he had a coach who told him, he said, you know, it takes probably a good 6 years throwing that knuckleball all the time before you really feel like you master it. He thought that was a joke, but then he found out 6 years later that it was about just about right.
Another fastball.
So Mayshore gets the leadoff walk here in the second inning. Now Carlos Garcia will come up.
John, Carlos Garcia has been a mystery to me because when he was with Pittsburgh, I mean, he was just a good player. 280, could run. I mean, he had some power. He went to the American League Toronto Blue Jays last year and struggled, and he's been released a couple of times since. I'm just really surprised because I thought he was going to be a big star.
Went to the Blue Jays and just didn't do anything. Back to the bag at first is Mayshore. You see the numbers. I mean, he was an all-star in 1994. Look what happened last year, Joe.
Yeah.
Explain that.
I can't.
Come on, you're the analyst.
No, but
explain it.
I said I was really surprised, and I am, because I just had watched him play, and I was impressed with his glove. I was impressed with his bat. I mean, in speed, he looked like he had it all.
And then no explanation.
No explanation. I actually thought Toronto was going to do, you know, with the acquisition that they made last year with all those acquisitions from the National League. I thought they were going to do very well.
I just
Orlando Mercedes.
I just hope that the Emmy voters for next year aren't watching right now. The Emmy voters, they want analysis, Joe. They don't want to hear, I'm surprised. They want to hear, well, here's what happened. Come on now.
I'll talk to him and find out.
Carlos, ¿qué es eso, señor? 1 ball and no strikes, and back to the bag is Mayshore at first. By the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
Joe Morgan, he beat them all. He won the Emmy as the preeminent analyst in sports television.
Thank you very much. Don't make me blush up here,
man.
Thank you.
I'm pretty impressed by that. I mean, you beat John Madden. You beat Dick Vitale. You beat them all. There goes Mayshore. Right center. Martinez. Mayshore's got to go back.
That's one of the things that he did well in Pittsburgh also. He could hit and run. He could do a lot of things. So I think Terry Collins probably still has some confidence in him. And if he gets a chance to play enough, maybe he will, you know, bounce back and become a good player again. There's, speaking of Dickie V, there he is.
Now don't rub it in.
He's a friend of the owner here, Vince Nemoli. But then he's a friend of everybody.
Yeah. Dickie V, and he lives in this area. He's got a beautiful home over in Sarasota, or near Sarasota.
Yeah, I think I hit a golf ball in his backyard one day. I was playing, and he lives on about the 12th hole.
Yeah. Now that's the funny thing. You hit the golf ball, Jerry. He lives like 5 miles from a golf course.
No.
Gary DiSarcina, the hitter. 1 out, 1 on in the second. Tampa Bay leading 1-0. Knuckler floats through there for a called strike.
One of the things I've always felt as a player is that you should do things with knuckleball pitchers on the mound. Hit and run. You put a lot of pressure on the catcher, not just to catch the ball, but to try to throw it after he catches it.
I think there'd be a lot of running.
Yeah. Well, you put a lot of pressure on the defense. And that's one of the things in the old days they would say, okay, if you stay close to a knuckleball pitcher, you can beat him. Simply because there are a lot of ways that you can maybe manufacture a run, a lot of things you can do to put pressure on him. But that doesn't seem to happen anymore, as you see. Mayshore called strike 1 by
or DiSarcina.
DiSarcina, I'm sorry, called strike 2 by Dale Ford.
Mayshore bluffed back to first. When you're a knuckleballer, it can be very important to learn a real quick move to first base. Down on strikes is DiSarcina. It's the 3rd strikeout already for Springer.
And you watch him, he doesn't deliver the ball very quickly to the plate, and he doesn't throw real hard. And there's a good tumble on the knuckleball. That one really sunk down and in on DiSarcina.
Hey, Joe, you're asking me what we're going to do after the game. I was thinking, why don't we just go right out there where the folks are watching us right now to the Cuesta Rey cigar bar, which they have here at Tropicana Field. Yeah, you folks enjoying the game out there? Everything all right? Yeah, that's the way to enjoy a ball game, Joe.
They are relaxed.
I mean, there are box seats, reserve seats, and then out there in the cigar bar, there are couches. Darren Erstad, the hitter, led off the game with a single for the Angels.
And that was interesting. Springer started him off with a fastball.
And back to the bag is Mayshore. Seems like if he's going to run, he ought to run now. Although you got that lefty up there with the hole. What do you think, Joe?
I think he should run. I think that you need to put pressure on knuckleball pitchers.
Mayshore with his lead from first. McGriff on the bag with him. 1 strike, the count to Erstad. Well, they thought he was going to run that time.
Exactly.
Somebody from the cigar bar probably called the dugout saying, Joe Morgan thinks he should run right now.
But that shows you that it makes, if you will run and you do things, it puts a lot of pressure on the defense, makes them change their pitching patterns.
1 ball, 1 strike. 2 down. And that's back out of play. 1 ball and 2 strikes now. Erstad hitting .341 for the year. Yeah, I'm surprised because Terry Collins is a very aggressive manager. He likes to.
Well, he may send him now because there's 2 strikes on Erstad, and if he gets thrown out, Erstad would lead off the next inning, and he's your leadoff hitter, so that wouldn't be all bad.
Mayshore intently looking at Springer. Springer, how long does it take to signal for a knuckleball, Joe? There goes Mayshore. They pitch now. Throw offline by DeFelice, and Mayshore steals second base.
I wanted to mention that to you, John. A pitch out from Springer, a knuckleball pitcher, is really not going to get to the plate very quickly.
Yeah.
Anyway, they guess right, but here's the pitch, fastball away, and the throw is on the shortstop side, just a little to the shortstop side, and that allows Mayshore to get in there safely.
Yeah, well, great call by the umpire.
And a great shot there to show that he barely got in under the wire.
Marty Foster making the call. Now man at second. 2-2 to Erstad. Full count now. Dave Hollins on deck.
It was funny you were saying how long does it take for him to get his sign. See, that tells you right there that something else was on, because he was looking in for the knuckleball and he had to, you know, recheck to make sure that that's what he wanted was a pitch out.
Well, they clocked the pitch at 72 miles an hour. just a bit outside. So the second walk of the inning allowed by Springer. And here is Dave Hollins. That's 5 men who've reached base already. I don't know if Larry Rothschild is ordinarily a pacer, but a knuckleballer, I guess, will make you into a pacer. There are always a lot of nervous moments in a ball game, it seems, when a knuckleballer is pitching. Dave Hollins, I thought he should have been given credit for a hit. Scored as a sacrifice bunt his first time out from time at bat. Ball 1.
And there are a lot of reasons that you may hit from the right side, even though you're a switch hitter against a knuckleball pitcher. Maybe he feels he weights on the ball better from the right side. And that's what you have to do on the knuckleball, wait and then attack it.
They're still waiting for Hollins to get it going. Way outside. Hollins last year drove in 85 runs. 2 men on here. Mayshore at second base. Erstad at first. 1-0. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays leading the Angels. Jim Edmonds on deck. 2-0 to Hollins. There's a fastball, right center field, and Martinez. 5 left on in 2 innings by the Angels. 1-0 Tampa Bay. I'm John Miller along with my Emmy award-winning partner Joe Morgan. Congratulations again. Last Monday in New York City at the Emmy Awards, you beat them all and won the Emmy. Nice going.
Well, it was fun, to really be honest with you. It's always fun to be nominated, but all the guys that were nominated, it was just great to win in that kind of company, to be honest with you.
Now, did you make a good speech?
No. John, I've made my speech at the Hall of Fame. I've spoken at a lot of different places, but I was more nervous making that thank you speech than I had been ever before.
Congratulations also to Dan Patrick, our colleague from SportsCenter, who also was a winner. She wishes I were Dan Patrick.
Well, Dan made a good speech. He made a good acceptance speech.
Well, in the acceptance speech, I mean, let me be the judge of whether it was a good speech or not.
Well, I mentioned.
Did you? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I mentioned that I'd been surrounded in my playing days with Bench, Rose, Perez, Foster, all these great players, and now I'm surrounded with other great people like Mark Payton, Phil Orleans, John Miller.
That's a great speech.
Yeah.
So you misjudge yourself. Great speech. Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, and Mark Payton and Phil, everybody agrees.
Well, the one thing I learned is that, you know, you have to have good players around you to get your job done.
1 ball and 2 strikes. Jack McDowell facing Mike DeFelice, the 8th place hitter for the Devil Rays. McDowell has had a hard time early on in this game putting the hitter away. It seems like it's forever. He's like a young pitcher. He's going from 1-2 to 3-2 ultimately. Throwing a lot of pitches. Threw 31 pitches in the first inning alone. Hit deep into center field. That's the deepest part of the ballpark, though. Edmonds. There is some room out there. 415 feet to the deepest part of the ballpark. A little to the left of where Edmonds was. Panoramic look from the right field corner. They have seats out there that go for $1.50, Joe. Oh, great. Behind that right field foul pole. I mean, way up.
Well, that's where I used to sit in Candlestick Park when I was growing up.
You see the
50 seats.
The little fence behind the foul pole up there near the top of the bleachers section out there. Those go for $1.50. So you and I could both get season tickets if we lived here. Kevin Stocker, former Philly. A strike and it's 0-1. Pretty good movement on that fastball. Remember Stocker came up second half of the 1993 season for the Phillies. The guy they hoped would just give them a good glove. And he hit extremely well, helping them make it to the World Series. He never really hit that well again.
I think the Devil Rays did a good job of securing their double play combination. You know, they have Cairo and Stocker, and as we said, they lead the league in double play, so they can play together for a long time. and that's important for your middle inner defense.
Stocker that year hit .233 in the minor leagues for half a year. He came to the big leagues and hit .324 the rest of the year, and played a great shortstop. It is 3 balls and a strike now to Kevin Stocker. In the shortstop, and 2 men are gone.
Well,
McDowell's making it look a little easier here so far in the second.
When I talked about McDowell, having to learn to pitch all over again with maybe 90% of what he had before, and I think this is why Nevin is going out to talk to him. He's saying if you're able to throw a 3-1 fastball and get a guy out, or a 2-0 fastball and get him out, why not throw it earlier in the count? Meaning you have to trust your fastball, because if you dig a hole, get behind 3-1, everyone in the park's going to know what's coming. So I think maybe you'll see a few more fastballs from McDowell to try to get ahead of these hitters and then get them to chase his splitter.
Leadoff man Quentin McCracken now. The second. Quickly to his left, Carlos Garcia throws him out, and McDowell has a very easy second inning. It'll be Jim Edmonds, Cecil Fielder, and Garrett Anderson coming up. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Sunday Night Baseball, top of the third coming up. 1-0 Tampa Bay. Jim Edmonds will lead it off.
This is interesting, John. Last night's bat speeds on the left. Cecil Fielder 87 to 85 tonight. Edmonds 86 last night to 84. Erstad the closest, 83 to 82.
Here's a shot deep into right, and this one is way up into the seats. So Jim Edmonds, who lost a home run last night when he hit a ball very much like that one, that hit the catwalk out there, stayed in play, and he got only a double. This time he hit it out of the ballpark and under the catwalk, his third home run, and the Angels, just like that, have tied the score.
Let's take a look at this pitch. And there's a high knuckleball, and Edmonds gets it all.
Cecil Fielder, ball one.
John, I think the meaning of those bat speed, the changes, is because you're not as aggressive against a knuckleball pitcher as you are against a fastball, curveball, slider type pitcher.
Well, let's get his bat reading right there, Joe.
No, and a lot of times, because the guy's throwing 60, 70 miles an hour and he's throwing a knuckleball, you're a little more cautious, not quite as aggressive. You're just trying to hit a line drive back through the middle, and that slows your bat speed as well.
Big Daddy, Cecil Fielder. He lined a single into left field his first time. 2 balls and a strike.
He's one of the more likable guys in Major League Baseball. Everybody likes Big Daddy.
That's right to the second baseman, Cairo, who was playing right behind second base. Sounded like Cecil broke his bat on that one.
Let's take a look at Jim Edmonds' home run. You mentioned that one hit the catwalk last night to turn into a double. This one goes through, and he ends up with a home run.
Yeah, the catwalk, we'll have to get into that at some point during the telecast, is Garrett Anderson takes a fastball for a strike on the outside. I mean, a slow fastball, but that's
still a fastball. It's his fastball.
The fastball for Dennis Springer. Anderson popped to first his first time. That's rolling foul. And the count is quickly 0-2 to Anderson. 1-1 the score here. But the big catwalk up there, if the ball hits off the catwalk and drops back onto the field of play, it's in play. It's 110 feet above the field there. And 2 times already in the very few games that the Devil Rays have played in this ballpark, the catwalk has been hit. One was by Frank Thomas of the White Sox, and then last night Jim Edmonds did the same. Then they gave Thomas a home run on his. Lunging for one, popping it up. This could be a lot of trouble. It is beautifully done by Bobby Smith.
Good play there by Bobby Smith. A tough ball is when the ball's hit directly over your head and you got to run straight back and get it. Now watch it. This is what he does well. Now watch, he gets off to the side. That makes it an easier catch than trying to catch it directly coming over your shoulder. Good smart play here. See how he gets off to the side? That makes it much easier to catch than the ball coming directly over to your head.
So he really knows what he's doing out there. Here is Phil Nevin. Ball one inside. Nevin struck out his first time. Bobby Smith, he just didn't hit much in the minor leagues. Larry Rothschild had a theory about that. Slowly hit to Smith at third. There's that arm. Wow. A pretty impressive defensive inning for Bobby Smith. The Angels have tied the game, though, on a long home run by Jim Edmonds. It is 1-1 as we head to the last of the third. Fred McGriff will be coming up third. First ball swinging. Miguel Cairo lines a single into left center field against Jack McDowell. Edmonds picks it up. Cairo, after the big turn, goes back to the bag. Hit number 3 for the Devil Rays. So Cairo had a sacrifice bunt his first time. Singles here. Now Dave Martinez will come up for Tampa Bay. 1-1 is the score. We're at Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. Beautiful day today. Temperatures in the 80s. St. Petersburg Beach. I mean, people everywhere on the beach today. Cairo running. He's out. DeSarcina with the tag. Nevin with the throw.
Phil Nevin and Matt Walback have been doing a great job for the Angels this year. Let's take a look at the jump. Not bad. Throw right on the money, so to speak. And there's the tag.
Another close play.
Yeah, and Foster says he's out.
Dave Martinez now with one out and nobody on. Well, you mentioned the job that they have done. The Angels have allowed 21 steals, but they have thrown out 17 attempting to steal. And now Terry Collins sees something from Jack McDowell that he didn't like. And maybe something wrong with Jack McDowell here. Collins going to go out and have a look. Find out for himself. So McDowell, of course, who had the elbow surgery and arthroscopic surgery to remove soft tissue from the elbow. And he had even more problems after that. There was a time last year where it was so bad they thought maybe he was finished, that he would never be able to pitch again. He developed a bony contusion during his rehabilitation after he tried to come back last June. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Commissioner of Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent. Dave Martinez, 2-1 the count to him. He walked his first time. On deck, Fred McGriff. Now had kept insisting that he could get back sooner than he eventually did. He ended up missing entirely the last 4 months of last season. That's a solid base hit. Again, McDowell behind in the count, Joe, just as you were pointing out earlier. Coming in with that fastball, and they're right on it.
Just can't get behind if you do not have a lot of movement. He doesn't. That fastball there doesn't sink. Now watch this fastball. There's not a lot of movement on this fastball. Pretty straight. Look at that. Just kind of stays there. And Martinez rips it to right field for a base hit.
The Angel bullpen gets busy now as Fred McGriff stands in. McGriff line to single to right to drive in a run. Back to the bag at first is Martinez.
It's interesting, until last year, most of the National League pitchers tried to pitch Freddie McGriff in tight, stay in on his hands. There you see Olivares warming up. But then they started to go away and they had some success.
Strike one to McGriff. Freddie has always had a stance where he's well off the plate. And last year when he was having problems with that outside pitch, I mean, he was getting a lot of flack from people who wanted him to move up a little bit to have better coverage out there. But he kept insisting. He insisted to you that that wasn't really the problem.
And he said he's always stood off the plate, and that's true. But what happens is when you stand as far away from the plate as he does and you do pull off, then it just compounds the problem, and that's what was happening to him. And he stands off the plate because he doesn't like the ball in on his hands. He wants to give himself a little room to attack the pitch on the inside part of the plate. There are a lot of hitters who do that, and you have to, your stance should be addressed according to your strength. If you like the ball inside, you stand close to the plate. If you like the ball out over the plate, you stand a little bit farther away from the plate.
1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, 1 on. Martinez back to the bag at first. Fred McGriff, who used to sell soda at Al Lopez Field over in Tampa, where the Cincinnati Reds had their spring training for many years. Again, back to the bag is Martinez, and his idols included Johnny Bench and Joe Morgan.
I can understand Johnny Bench. He wanted to be a power hitter.
There goes Martinez. Right over the middle, and that put deep Sarcina at second because the runner was going, and he turns it into an easy double play. We're heading to the 4th inning now. Mayshore will be leading it off. It is 1-1. Inning number 4. Angels 1, Devil Rays 1. Dennis Springer, the knuckleballer, misses very high with ball 1 to Damon Mayshore, the 7th place hitter in Terry Collins' lineup for the Angels. Mayshore walked and stole a base his first time. Waiting on that knuckler. Finally swung hard, bounced it foul. 1 ball, 1 strike. He's in there, is Mayshore, because of the injury suffered by Tim Salmon. That was kind of odd, wasn't it? Salmon hit a home run and hurt himself while he was running out the home run. He underwent an MRI. That's back to the screen, which revealed a strain of the plantar fascia, which, as you know, Joe, is the ligament in the bottom of the foot that supports the arch. And they injected the area. He remained in Anaheim, was receiving treatment. We understand that he was able to do some swimming yesterday. Center field, Quentin McCracken. And there is 1 out. He'll be reevaluated on Monday. Jack McDowell talking to his manager between innings. Terry Collins. And then a few moments later, McDowell headed back to the clubhouse. There's the ball hit by Carlos Garcia in the right center field. Dave Martinez on number 2. Well, Joe, I would think that as Omar Olivares gets back up in the bullpen again, I would think if you've got a pitcher that you're really counting upon, and he's coming back from elbow problems, that you would always figure discretion is the better part of valor.
I agree, but when you have a veteran pitcher like Jack McDowell, you're right by asking him if you're Terry Collins. Going out and talking to him, and he asked him, and Jack wanted to stay in, so Terry waited till he got in the dugout, and then he probably had a heart-to-heart with him and said, you know, I want you out of there, and Jack probably agreed. So I think you have to give the veterans the benefit of a doubt every once in a while.
Collins had apparently seen something in a pitch that McDowell had thrown during the Devil Rays 3rd inning. He didn't, I don't know, didn't like the expression on his face or some arm action afterward.
His velocity was down a little bit, and even though that's not always the criteria you look for to decide whether a pitcher is throwing well, you know, he had dropped a couple of miles an hour, and I'm sure that Collins is used to him getting stronger as the game goes along, and he had dropped a couple of miles, so he decided to do something.
Popped up, racing out, Cairo, just in front of McCracken. Dennis Springer has his first routine inning of the game. Paul Sorrento coming up, 1-1 the score. Paul Sorrento lines one out to center fielder Jim Edmonds. First ball hunting here in the 4th inning, and Sorrento is retired. He is now 0 for 2. 1-1 the score, last of the 4th inning. And Omar Olivares indeed has come on in relief of Jack McDowell.
Well, he has a sinker and a good splitter, so Olivares will try to hold him for the Angels. You know, John, I was talking about how veterans are given, you know, the benefit of a doubt by the managers. I'll tell you a little story. Sparky Anderson, when he managed the Reds, and Tom Seaver pitched for the Reds, you know, Sparky would come out.
Bobby Smith, the hitter, ball 1.
And if Tom Seaver felt like he had enough, if he was tiring, when Sparky got on the mound, he'd give him the ball. And if he wanted to stay in, he'd put it behind him and hold on to it. And Sparky had to trust him enough that he would, you know, you have to have confidence in your veterans to know that they're not going to lie to you. And, you know, and Tom and Sparky worked that way. And I thought it worked great.
2-0 the count to Bobby Smith. Well, also the trust is implicit from the player to the manager.
Exactly.
Knowing that the manager is going with their word on it,
right,
and not for whether he might be second guessed later,
right,
by a newspaper reporter or a talk show host if he left him in there and he gave up the big hit afterward.
Right.
Jack McDowell threw 51 pitches and he threw 31 of them in his first inning. That'll really take a toll on an arm, both healthy and otherwise. I mean, there's a lot of stress to throwing a difficult inning like that. 3-2 to Bobby Smith. He walked his first time. He's hitting .368. And he walks again. 1 out, and now Smith is aboard. Rich Butler coming up. Say, friends, for the complete game, turn to ESPN's Baseball Tonight, the most comprehensive baseball program on television, with all the latest scores and highlights, including highlights of games that are still in progress. Baseball Tonight, weeknights at 10:30 and midnight Eastern on ESPN. Get 2 Baseball Tonights on weeknights. There's a foul by Rich Butler. When I'm out in San Francisco, it comes in at 7:30 and again at 9 o'clock. I guess that's because when I'm out there, I'm on Pacific time.
Did you go to Duke also?
Yeah, I'm a pretty quick study. 0-1 to Rich Butler, and back to the bag is Bobby Smith.
John, is it
I was out there 2 straight days around the first week of the season.
Yes.
And at midnight, I'm turning on ESPN saying, where the heck is Baseball Tonight? What do they do with it? Bobby Smith, the runner at first. He has not stolen a base. And Olivares misses low. 1 ball, 1 strike. 1-1 is the score. We're in the last of the 4th inning.
John, the one thing I've been impressed with this stadium is that it seems to be brighter in here than all the other domes that I've been in. This is a bright ballpark.
I agree. And they measured the candle power of the lights at Camden Yards in Baltimore. People, players especially, seem to be very happy with the way they're able to see the ball at night there. And they said that they basically duplicated the candle power of the lights at Camden Yards here. Tropicana Field in Tampa. And back to the bag again in Smith. There are actually a couple of interesting angles on the outfield wall here. And this ballpark is got a fast turf and whatnot, but out there just to the left of straightaway center, there's a little triangle area, sort of reminding you a bit of Fenway Park in Boston. And that slider misses. 2 balls and a strike. 415 feet out there. But look at they got that little angle. And Mike DeFelice hit one, Joe, that hit that 415 marker, and it shot to the left over to that angled wall. So and it can do vice versa if it hit that wall to the left as well. They want to see some triples in this ballpark, and that's where they got the real deep areas out there and some angles in the wall. In straightaway center field, I think they'll get a few, and maybe some inside the park as well.
Plus, it makes it a little more exciting. You give your center fielder, you know, room to roam and make great catches, and just adds an air of excitement when you have a deep center field. Plus, it gives a pitcher a spot to pitch to.
It's a walk. That's consecutive walks allowed by Olivares. Smith moves to second. Butler takes first. And now Mike DeFelice will come up.
And Olivares has always had good stuff, but he's been a little erratic as far as his control is concerned. But he does have good stuff.
The Angels like to win this ball game. They've really struggled. They lost 3 out of 4 to the Devil Rays at home last week. But they've played pretty well since then. They have a chance to sweep this series with a win tonight. They'll be able to do it, and then they go to Baltimore, and after that they go to Boston. So they've got some tough games coming up in this trip. That's the second. Darren Erstad going. The second baseman Garcia gets the out at second base on Butler with the shortstop Nisarcina covering. I thought Erstad was going to intercept that one for a moment.
Well, watch. He's way off the line to start with, and look where he ends up. I mean, he is almost at second base, but he's called off by Garcia, and Garcia gets the force out at second base.
Now, you played second base all those years. When a ground ball comes right to you,
yeah,
usually you take that one, right?
Yeah. That was a long ways for second baseman, his first baseman to go, but he was started way off the line as well.
Now Smith at third, DeFelice at first, 2 down, and the veteran Kevin Stocker at the plate. 1-1 in the last of the 4th. Into the hole. Nisarcina, can he get anybody? Yes, at second base. DeFelice is forced out, and the inning is over. DeFelice is a very slow runner. He's a catcher, and that's why the Devil Rays do not score in the inning. Erstad, Hollins, and Edmonds at top of the order coming for the Angels. It's 1-1 still. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. The Angels won. The Devil Rays won. Darren Erstad will lead it off. When you come to broadcast a game here at the Tropicana Field, you have the benefit of being able to do your preparation work during the day in a little cabana on St. Petersburg Beach. It's the most extensive preparation for a game I've ever done. There's ball 1 to Darren Erstad, who has singled and walked. Leadoff man, and getting the job done, getting on base for the Angels. Each of his 2 previous appearances. Hollins and Edmonds will follow against Dennis Springer. Right back to Springer. 1 away. He broke another bat there, Joe.
It's funny that he has pitched Erstad completely different than he has the other hitters. Erstad got a base hit off the knuckleball the first time up, and he's thrown him sliders and fastballs. He's thrown him other pitches. And I think that's why he broke that bat then. He threw him a little slider on the inside part of the plate, but he has pitched him completely different than he has the other hitters. He hasn't used his knuckleball since the first inning.
Hollins got a sacrifice bunt in the first. Flied out his next time. That's a foul. Springer, since Jim Edmonds hit the first pitch of the 3rd inning for a home run, has retired 7 straight Angels here. This ballpark measures 315 feet. Down the left field line, 322 to the right field foul pole. See Hollins wait on that one. Long throw here from short by Stocker, and he got it. Hollins is a very fast runner. An excellent play by Stocker.
John, you were talking about how this field looks like a baseball field, you know, even though it's a dome, because of the dirt. You know, a lot of parks will have AstroTurf, and then they'll have AstroTurf where Stocker is catching the ball and just cutouts around the bases. And here they have the entire infield is dirt. But what that does, even though you can see how true the ball bounces there, a lot of times when the ball comes off AstroTurf with one spin and hits the dirt, it will reverse or change spins. That does not seem to happen here. But this is like the 15th or 20th generation of AstroTurf, and they've been able to take some of the flaws out of it.
Jim Edmonds, who has struck out and homered at the plate. Strike one the count. Yeah, this Vince Namoli is a fastball for a strike. The owner of the ball, or for a ball. 1 ball, 1 strike. Vince Namoli, the owner of the ball club, said this is AstroTurf 12.
Okay, the 12. I was 3 off.
It could be the 30th generation or whatever.
Yeah, but you can remember I went to Cal State. So I'm like 3. I mean, you know, I may be off a little bit.
I'll ask Quentin McCracken.
Okay. Yeah.
1 ball, 1 strike the count to Jim Edmonds. Right field. This one will stay in the park. Dave Martinez grabs it. That's 9 in a row retired by Springer. A 7-pitch inning for him. McCracken, Cairo, and Martinez coming up. It's time. Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida, in the Tampa Bay area. It is 1-1. The Anaheim Angels from Southern California leading, or in a tie ball game with the Tampa Bay Devil Rays from the Gulf Coast of Florida. Here is Quentin McCracken against Omar Olivares. 1 ball, 1 strike now. McCracken led off the first with a double, scored a run, grounded out to second. His last time. Miguel Cairo and Dave Martinez will follow. Third base, Hollins shallow. That's a foul out. Joe, you mentioned that they have the dirt here. Of course, when AstroTurf was first installed at the Astrodome back in the 1965 season, of course, they had the dirt in place. And most of the other ballparks that put turf in also had dirt where the dirt is supposed to be. Strike 3 call. Good sinker on the inside. One away.
Well, let's take a look at this fastball. It starts inside and it moves back over the inside part of the plate. See that ball really tail back for strike 3. Good fastball there from Olivares, right in under the hands.
Miguel Cairo now 1 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt, and he takes strike 1. Seems to me was either Pittsburgh or Cincinnati that was the first one to have the turf around the infield with just the little dirt cutouts around the bases. And I suppose for the reason that you brought up, that it was tough on the infield. The infielders were complaining about the change in the bounces.
I played in the Astrodome in '65 when they opened it, and they could not grow grass after they had to paint the roof because you know the sunshine was shining through and you'd lose the baseballs. They were trying to grow grass naturally in there, and after that the grass would die, and eventually they came up with AstroTurf for that reason. And the second year, when they did put the AstroTurf in there, they did have the cutouts there in Cincinnati, I mean in Houston as well. So everything, I think, kind of started in the Astrodome with the first generation of AstroTurf.
Slider misses. 3-2 the count to Cairo. So you're saying when they put the AstroTurf in, it had the cutouts right away?
Yes, they did. When they first time when they put it in. Actually, they started like exhibition without it. You couldn't slide, you know, so they finally put the cutouts in.
That's ball 4. Cairo's aboard. The third walkout already by Olivares. The Stanley Cup playoffs continue tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern on ESPN when Eric Lindros leads the Flyers against Dominik Hasek and the Sabres. Lindros had a goal and an assist Friday night as the Flyers even the series at a game apiece. Also tomorrow on ESPN2, it's the Penguins meeting the Canadiens at 7:30 Eastern. That series tied at 1. Then at 10:30 Eastern, it's the St. Louis Blues with a 2-0 lead versus the Los Angeles Kings. Hockey playoffs, ESPN. Eddie Shore, old-time hockey. Dave Martinez, the hitter, 1 out and 1 on. Anyway, I like this better, Joe, because the turf with the lines drawn in to delineate where the dirt was supposed to be, it made it look like a big game board. You know, like Milton Bradley built the field.
Well, there's no doubt this looks more aesthetically pleasing, you know, for baseball fans and just the all AstroTurf field.
Dave Martinez has walked and singled in this game, hitting .313. Fred McGriff on deck. It's a 1-1 tie. Last of the 5th inning. Cairo at first. Called a strike on the inside. But you know, Vince Namoli said that there were a few problems when they decided to put the dirt in. Somebody had the idea to put the dirt in. You know, they also have played hockey here. The Tampa Bay Lightning used to play here. They played basketball here. And there were all these pipes and whatnot under the surface. And they had to move out all these pipes and change things. It was a huge operation just to put that dirt in. He said it ended up costing $1 million. And so I said, well, the guy who suggested it, is he still working for you? He says, well, I suggested it. So he thought it was a good idea, and he went through with it, even though it cost him $1 million, Joe. You know, it didn't cost us anything. We tell him, put some dirt in out there. It looks better. Well, he did it, and he paid for it. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Dave Martinez.
Well, John, if you pay $115 million or whatever for the team, it seems like $1 million might be cheap. There's Vince.
Vince Namoli, Devil Rays managing general partner and CEO. Tried for a long, long time to bring Major League Baseball here to the Dome in St. Petersburg. Look, it's costing him. It's still costing him, Joe. You see that?
Yeah, but I hope that was a tip. I hope he doesn't have to pay for his own food here. Hope he's tipping that young lady that brought the food to it.
But I'm going to bring him a box of popcorn or something the next inning myself. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Cairo, the runner at first base. Omar Olivares in relief of Jack McDowell. Did not receive the report, by the way, on McDowell's condition as to why he was removed after only 3 innings. That's into right center field, a base hit. Edmonds will keep Cairo at second base. Now the ball goes wildly through the middle of the infield. The throw to second base. He's out. Here comes Larry Rothschild. Martinez angry with Marty Foster, and Rothschild's going to pick up the argument.
Well, Martinez is contending that he hooked his left foot around the bag, and now they've already tossed Larry Rothschild out of the game.
Well, first base umpire Dale Ford also comes over to move Martinez away. Well, Rothschild, they say, has not had any confrontations with umpires to equal that one yet. It all started because this throw came in where nobody was.
Well, he throws it away from the second baseman. It gets away. Martinez recognized it late, and he got a bad jump on it. You see he hooks to the outside, and he felt like he got his left foot in there before he was tagged at second base. You take a look for yourself here, and you can see the tag does come from behind, and Martinez felt he was safe. Tag again, and there you see Foster ringing him up, and then he threw Larry Rothschild out of the ball game.
Carlos Garcia applying the tag. Here's McGriff with Cairo at third. So it's a single for Martinez. An error charge to Edmonds, allowing Cairo to go to third. And then Martinez out at second from Olivares to Garcia, 1-4. Ball and no strikes to McGriff.
Well, there goes Martinez. The throw comes from Olivares. It's right on the money, but watch Martinez's left leg. You can see that he is hooks to the outside, and he gets his foot in there, but very close play, and he's called out by Marty Foster at second base. And you see Martinez, but Martinez recognized the ball got away too late. for him to get into second base easily.
3-0 to McGriff. Paul Sorrento, another left-handed hitter on deck. Olivares ends up walking McGriff on 4. And that's his 4th walk. This is his 2nd inning of pitching.
Well, we mentioned that when he came in, that he's always had great stuff. He just has problems throwing strikes.
There's Marcel Latchman, the Angel pitching coach and a former manager. Time to talk to Olivares. Runners at 1st and 3rd with Sorrento coming up.
Well, you mentioned he's had 4 walks. They've only had 1 base hit.
The only hit he allowed was that base hit we just saw by Dave Martinez.
And he was retired.
Well, it depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
You know, they had that controversy here when Frank Thomas hit one. The White Sox were in town off the catwalk in left field. And there was a big controversy about that because the ball ended up in foul territory on the ricochet. A strike, nice pitch on the outside of Sorrento. And Rothschild went out to argue on that because they said no home run, which seemed to go against the ground rules. But Rothschild stated his case, said what the ground rules said, and then was very polite and walked off the field. He was less polite tonight, I thought. That's down the left field line. A long run for Anderson. Can't quite get there. To the count to Sorrento, who was 0 for 2 in the game. Still 1-1. So in this inning, they've had a walk, a single, a throwing error, and another walk. And a manager got tossed, but they haven't scored. Olivares has allowed 5 men to reach base, and he has only retired 3 hitters himself. Of course, you got Martinez out at second base on the throw. Just missing inside. 1-2 the count there.
Well, he tried to start that ball off the plate inside and move it back on the inside corner, as he did to McCracken to start this inning.
Edmonds going back. Time. We're going to the 6th inning. Cecil Field coming up. It's still tied at 1. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Ramada. Call 1-800-2-RAMADA for reservations. And you might tell them, book me over on St. Petersburg Beach while you're at it. Beautiful beach. And been the perfect weather this weekend to enjoy St. Petersburg Beach. Ball 1 to Cecil Fielder, has singled and lined out to second. He is 1 for 2, facing Dennis Springer, the knuckleballer. Pop fly shallow right. This could be a lot of trouble. And it falls. Fielder's going to try for 2. Here comes Martinez throw. Hurry, Cecil. He's in there. A hustle double. And the crowd is all over the young umpire, Marty Foster. Even though there was not even a tag attempted there.
Cecil did not hit it exactly the way he wanted to, but it'll work. He'll take it. It's a knuckleball out away from him. He goes out and gets it off the end of the bat. And Martinez comes up with it and fires to second base, but Cecil hustles and gets in there. Right off the end of the bat, and you see he's hustling right away. He thinks it might drop. Now he decides, well, I got to go for it. Tie ball game, I got to get in scoring position, and he gets there.
And of course, even though the throw was off the back and not even held, fans were booing that he was called safe.
Heard of good outs and bad outs. That was a bad out right there.
Garrett Anderson, instead of getting fielded at third, on the first pitch, pops the fly out to left field.
You have to pull the ball on that situation.
There's the folks sitting right behind the plate. Now they have these computer terminals, and they're able to watch our telecast, for instance. And they also can call up all kinds of pitching charts and statistical references. First ball swinging, Phil Nevin, and he is thrown out by Bobby Smith. 2 down. You know, how come we don't get one of those, Joe? I mean, we're actually working the game. We don't have stuff like that.
Well, we've got Peter Pasquarelli and Marty Aronoff. They're our computer. Just what do you want to know? Just punch it.
Oh, I
give
see.
it to us.
You and I couldn't afford to sit down there with those terminals.
$1.95.
Yeah. And they sold 85% of those seats down there on a season ticket basis. I think if you're coming to a game here in St. Pete at Tropicana Field, that's the seat to be in.
So there's 15% of them left, so I guess you can get them on a daily basis.
The thing I don't like about that, when they have all the stats and they got the video and everything else.
They don't need us.
I can see you're thinking with me here on this one. That's a bloop in the shallow center. Base hit. Mayshore. Let's see if Fielder's going to make it all the way. He does. The throw is way offline by McCracken. And the throw back to second by DeFelice is not in time. And the fans again giving it to the umpire. So Damon Mayshore in place of the big RBI man. Tim Salmon, who's hurt, comes through a la Salmon and brings Cecil Fielder home.
Well, they have not hit the ball sharply this inning against Springer, but they have a run, and that's the important thing.
So Cecil Fielder with his hustle double, and now Mayshore brings him in.
Well, with 2 outs, here's the knuckleball. It's right off the end of the bat, a little blooper out in the shallow center, and Cecil's able to score.
Carlos Garcia now with a chance to also drive in a run because Mayshore made it over to second base.
There's DeFelice. He's trying to make sure the ball doesn't get away from you. See, he gets his body in like a hockey goalie there. Got that one in the face. That's why you have the mask on. Cecil scored easily.
McCracken must have thrown him a knuckleball, Joe. He's used to it. Been able to knock down almost everything that Springer's thrown up there tonight, so he can knock down anything.
Well, he has done a good job, because usually you see quite a few balls get away from catchers when a pitcher throws a good knuckleball, and on occasion tonight the ball's really been dancing from Springer.
Well, they have had DeFelice, the former Cardinal, catch each of Springer's starts so far this year. And it's back to the screen. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Carlos Garcia, who is 0 for 2 in the game. The Angels are leading 2-1 here in the 6th inning. Cecil Fielder hustled a bloop into a double, and then he hustled home on the subsequent bloop by Mayshore. Cecil looks in better shape right now too, Joe, than it seems from the last couple of years anyway.
Well, he lost weight over the winter, and he really worked hard at his physical conditioning, he said. He will not tell you how much weight he lost, but he definitely looks trimmer. And that's one of the reasons that he's expecting to have another good year.
2-2 the count to Garcia. 2 down. Mayshore back to the bag at second on the bluff. Well, Cecil also off to a real slow start this year, but he continues to insist that, you know, that's normal for him in April. He always seems to have bad Aprils. Now here we are at late April, and he's giving signs of starting to come out of it. Right to the shortstop, Stocker. The Angels have gone ahead. The Devil Rays will have Bobby Smith to lead it off when we come back.
MCI takes us to Kansas City, where in the top of the 1st inning, the Rangers won going Gonzalez off Chris Haney's solo home run, 2-0 Rangers. Top of the 9th, Jeff Montgomery on the hill, 2 men on, same result, back, gone. 28th multi-home run game of his career, 32 April RBIs for Gonzalez. Texas wins it 11-4.
Juan Gonzalez, he had as a goal this year to stay healthy the whole year. Wow. Oliveras now with a 1-run lead hits Bobby Smith with his first pitch of the inning. Smith had already walked twice in this game. Gets drilled this time. They keep getting all kinds of base runners against Oliveras, but they have not yet gotten a run against him. By the way, Frank Howard, as we understand it, is now the acting manager in place of Larry Rothschild.
That's a fastball, and Bobby Smith not able to get out of the way.
Is Big Frank, yeah. Hondo. After the bag is Bobby Smith. Rich Butler is the hitter. Juan Gonzalez. It's kind of awesome to think about the possibilities if he does stay healthy all year.
I mentioned him as one of those guys I thought might be able to hit 60 or more home runs.
Runner goes, base hit to left field. Bobby Smith took off, and Rich Butler gets his first hit of the game, shooting it through the left side of the infield. And the Devil Rays are in business. Mike DeFelice coming up.
Well, it's a hit and run, and a good job by Butler to go the other way to the vacant hole. The shortstop was covering, as you can see, and the ball goes through, but doesn't accomplish what they were really trying to accomplish, and that is to get runners at first and third. Garrett Anderson playing shallow in left field was able to hold Bobby Smith at second base.
I mean, really what we've seen so far is that this turf is so fast that it really can take away from your ability. There's a sort of second by Nevin, back to the bag safely. It is Smith. And the fans cheer the call by Marty Foster, very sarcastically. 1 ball and no strikes to DeFelice.
Well, you're right. The AstroTurf is fast. The outfielders do not have to play that deep here because it's a small ballpark, and therefore puts a lot of premium on speed and getting a good jump from any base to be able to score. AstroTurf puts a premium on speed anyway.
2-1 Angels. Olivares in trouble though, and the Angel bullpen is getting ready. Rich Robertson, the left-hander, and Shigetoshi Hasegawa is the right-hander out there. Heating up. They'll be ready if needed. Kevin Stocker, a switch hitter, is on deck. Terry Collins has his bullpen busy. Too low. Well, here he is trying to make it. Has not been able to get the out yet. Won't throw the strike.
With making 1 pitch for a strike.
Runners are going. Back out of play. Jammed him. And I think that would have been ball 3.
Well, it was high, but you take chances, and it's more difficult to hit and run off a guy like Olivares, who is so erratic, than it is, someone like Greg Maddux, who throws strikes. So it's, you take your chances.
But in other words, you might have gotten a real fat one right there.
Right. But not only that, you figure, well, why should I just give him an out when he's behind in a count 2-0? I think you'll see him go back to the bunt now because it's 2-1.
Smith at second, Butler at first. This Erstad still pulled in at first, expecting the bunt. DeFelice not bunting. This is a double play ball to second. There's 1. Sarcina to first. 2. Double play.
Well, I told him to bunt. No, I think a lot of times, you're getting that situation, like I say, behind. You get the pitcher behind the count, and you think that you should take advantage of him, and they tried there, and it did not work out.
Let's take a look at the Red Roof Inn's pitching summary. The 2 starting pitchers. Jack McDowell left after only 3 innings, allowing a run and 4 hits. He left with achiness in his right elbow. He's going to head back to Southern California and have it examined. Dennis Springer, 6 innings, 2 runs, 4 hits allowed, and still in the ball game, but trailing 2-1. Possible tying run at third. Stocker to try and bring him in, and the slider misses for ball 1. 7 men have reached base against Olivares in 2 2/3 innings,
and they have yet to score a run.
He's walked 4. He's hit 1. He's given up 2 hits. Smith at third. A strike. Olivares has had a very tenuous hold on this lead that they've given him, but he's held it nonetheless. It hasn't been pretty though.
No.
2-1 the count. McDowell also ended up with quite a few base runners while he was in there. 6 men reached in his 3 innings. They put 13 men on base, so only one has scored in 6 innings. That's the way it goes. When you're 4 and lost 4 out of 5, you start to struggle. These things happen. Kevin Stocker has popped to short. It looked like he had gotten a run home back in the 4th inning, but DeSarcina made one of the best plays of the game in the hole at short, turned it into an inning-ending force out. Stocker trying again here. 2-2 right to the second baseman Garcia, and so it goes. The Devil Rays are 1 for 8 in their at-bats with men in scoring position. 2-1 Angels. We go to the 7th. Sunday night baseball. John Miller and Joe Morgan with you from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Florida. 7th inning. Gary DeSarcina against his old teammate Dennis Springer. That's a foul down the right field line. DeSarcina has struck out and popped to second, but remember, he did save a run back in the 4th inning with a defensive gem, and of course his club is leading by 1. And that knuckle is still dancing from Springer. 0-2 the count. I like they asked Springer if knowing all of these hitters from the past would be to his advantage, you know, that he'd have a good game plan because he knows his guys so well. He says, no, not at all. He says, won't give me any advantage at all. It's a knuckleball. One away. Now the in-game box. You see there, Edmonds with a home run, 1 for 3. Cecil fielded 2 more hits tonight, and they scored the go-ahead run on Mayshore's single. In-game box scores are available for any Major League game on the internet at ESPN.com. Joe, we were over in the beach last night. I had my little computer, and my son Alex and I were checking out those in-game box scores on ESPN.com. It's amazing. Any game is at your fingertip. Oh, and with the game situation, that's all there.
That is, if you're not a computer illiterate like myself, huh? If you know which buttons to push.
I'm just as illiterate as you.
That's why you had Alex with you, so he could do it.
Well,
my daughters could do it. I just can't do it.
Well, you better start bringing them. Darren Erstad has singled, walked, and hit a comebacker. He is 1 for 2. 2-1. The Angels are leading in the 7th inning. Springer sneaks a fastball by him. 1-2 the count.
John, we should also make mention here that Larry Rothschild is now officially a Major League manager. That was his first ejection. He's now one of the fraternity. Got kicked out of his first game.
Just 95 more and he'll catch Earl Weaver. That's a shot down the right field line into the corner. It bounces off the wall. Martinez plays the carom. Good throw into second. Safely in is Erstad.
I'll tell you what, Erstad is just very impressive as a hitter. I mean, he stays back through the middle on pitches. You kind of come inside. He pulls the ball. I mean, he is very impressive. And he waits on this. This is a real slow knuckleball. And he just waited and ripped it down the right field line and runs pretty well. He hustles into second base with a double.
Oh, that looks like.
Yeah, but that's slow motion, John.
If that glove was on him, he should have been called out.
Yeah, but that's slow motion. It's something that you can't see in regular speed.
Dave Hollins, left center field, and caught out there by Butler. Back to second is Erstad. Now Jim Edmonds comes up.
John, we showed you some bat speeds from some of the players yesterday. You know, Edmonds was at 86 yesterday, and he dropped down a little his first at bat here tonight. But then when he hit the home run in his last at bat, I mean, in the 3rd inning, I mean, his bat speed was actually faster than last night, which tells you how aggressive he was. We talked about sometimes you lose a little aggressiveness when you're after a knuckleball pitcher. Well, he was really in attack mode, and he hit the ball out of the ballpark. Where he was at 88 today, whereas last night he was at 86 on a double.
That's Rick Williams, the pitching coach for the Devil Rays, out to speak to Dennis Springer. Edmonds, after that third inning home run, lined one hard to the right fielder, Martinez, who caught it near the warning track. So he's been getting some real strong swings in against Springer here. Of course, you get Cecil Fielder on deck. You can see, when you were mentioning it earlier, Joe, when they're going to just go ahead and walk Edmonds here. They ain't going to fool around with him. Although they're almost threw that fastball over the outside corner. Ball one. And the bullpen has been busy throughout this entire inning.
And this has nothing to do with lefty-righty unless he's going to bring in a reliever, which I doubt.
He's got two right-handers warming up in the bullpen. Ball three. Frank Howard, the acting manager after the ejection of Larry Rothschild.
And of course, Frank Howard has managed in the major league, so he does have experience as a manager.
Esteban Yan and Albie Lopez in the bullpen. And is Esteban Yan out of the Baltimore Orioles organization. He's pitched beautifully. Albie Lopez from the Cleveland organization. Here's Fielder, his single to left, loop to double to right. Straight to the inside. Now an RBI chance for Cecil.
One of the things I find interesting is that in the outfield, they're not really playing a hitters to pull. When you have a knuckleball pitcher, normally you play everyone to pull the ball simply because he's throwing off-speed pitches. And a hitter usually will pull off-speed pitches, but they're playing pretty much straight away, even Cecil Fielder here.
Kind of bunched up towards center.
Right.
Well off the foul lines. That was a close one. 1 ball, 1 strike. The runners with 2 down. Erstad, who doubled at second. Edmonds, who was walked intentionally at first. Cecil drove in 3 runs here last night. 9 RBIs for the year.
Well, I think Cecil was a little angry because they walked Edmonds to get to him. He was going for it right there. This is the swing that he took when he hit 50 home runs before. I mean, this is a big swing by Cecil. Doesn't get it.
He tried to hit that one down to Sarasota. 1-2 the count. Fought it off, staying alive. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Under the fabric roof here, and you see all of the catwalks, the rings as they call them here, which a couple of times have been hit by big, strong sluggers. One Frank Thomas, and then last night Jim Edmonds. And that is strike 3. So Cecil Fielder leaves 2 men on. It is still 2-1. The top of the order coming for the Devil Rays. Quinton McCracken takes ball, or strike 1. I beg your pardon. I knew it was one or the other. From Omar Olivares, last of the 7th inning. 2-1. The Angels are leading. McCracken is 1 for 3. And strike 2. The Angels bullpen is very busy. This is the 4th inning of work now for Olivares. He has issued 4 walks. He's hit a batter, given up 2 hits in 3 innings, but no runs. He's clinging to that 2-1 advantage. The ball. McCracken is hitting .356. McCracken, as you see the bullpen, that's James the right-hander, Robertson the left-hander for the Angels. And he's down on strikes. Twice now, McCracken has been struck out by Olivares. Here's the in-game box score for the Devil Rays. You see the top of the order. The first 4 guys have done some damage. Bobby Smith down at the 6th spot has walked twice and been hit once. But nobody's been able to have much success with men in scoring position. 1 for 8 as a team. We've had lots of men out there. There's the bunt, the foul by Miguel Cairo. He has had a sacrifice bunt. He's singled and he's walked. A lot of runners and yet not many runs. A lot of guys have been wiped out on the base paths. Cairo got thrown out trying to steal in the third. There was also a double play in that inning. Of course, Martinez got thrown out trying to take second in the fifth on a disputed play. There was another double play in the sixth. So that's 4 base runners who were wiped out on the base paths. It could be about a week's worth of base runners.
Well, actually, the Devil Rays have had a problem. They've been, getting guys thrown out because they are aggressive, but I think they've played good, aggressive baseball tonight. It's just happened that things have not worked out for them.
Certainly had a couple of calls that went against them at second base. And an appeal is made to Dale Ford. New, says Dale. 2-2 the count. By the way, the in-game box scores are available for any major league game on the internet at ESPN.com. You can check it out right now if you'd like. Miguel Cairo trying to get on base in front of Dave Martinez. It's a foul. 2-2 the count. By the way, we'll see these Angels again next Sunday night at the Edison International Field in Anaheim. The Angels and Frank Thomas, Albert Bell, the Chicago White Sox will be there next Sunday. The Angels are hoping to have Tim Salmon back by then. Right center, Mayshore. 2 men gone. Next Sunday night, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. It'll be the Chicago White Sox, the Big Hurt, Frank Thomas against the Anaheim Angels. Jim Edmonds. I mean, we'll have the Big Hurt. We'll have Big Daddy. Frank Thomas, Albert Bell, Jim Edmonds, Cecil Fielder. The White Sox and Angels, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Next Sunday night on ESPN. Dave Martinez. And breaking ball, a strike. Martinez has walked and twice singled. Been on base all 3 times. All 4 times. But that's a big hit, keeping the inning going in a 1-run game. And that might knock Olivares out of here with the big left-handed sluggers. Fred McGriff coming up. And here comes Terry Collins. He's got the left-hander. Rich Robertson, and I suppose, Joe, Robertson's been warming up just for McGriff all along. Robertson's coming in to face McGriff. 2-1 Angels in the 7th. 2-down runner at first. We'll be right back. ESPN Sunday Night Baseball is brought to you by Rogaine Extra Strength for Men. John Miller and Joe Morgan, your Sunday night telecasters from Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg here in the Tampa Bay area. And Rich Robertson, a 29-year-old left-hander, formerly with the Minnesota Twins. He'd been a regular member of Tom Kelly's starting rotation the last 2 years. Just recently brought to the big leagues here to inherit situations similar to this with a runner at first, Dave Martinez, possible tying run, and Fred McGriff, the left-handed batting slugger, at the plate. McGriff has driven in the Devil Rays' only run, and time was taken by McGriff. 2-1 Angels. 2 runs, 6 hits in 1 error for Anaheim. 1 run, 7 hits in 1 error for Tampa Bay.
Well, Mike Holtz is the other left-hander in the bullpen for the Angels, and he's the one that has done a pretty good job. Robertson has struggled.
Holtz had been the only lefty out there. And then when Craig Shipley, an infielder, went on the disabled list, and they brought Robertson up, he's only been in 2 games and given up 3 runs and 4 hits in 3 2/3 innings. So McGriff has hit all of his home runs this year against lefties. Tommy Lasorda a few years back, he was having some problems finding a left-hander to get somebody out. He said, what good is a lefty if he can't get anybody out, I might as well use a good right-hander instead of a bad lefty. Into left field and caught by Garrett Anderson. He was playing very deep. Come on to get that one. One man left. And now we go to the 8th inning. Anderson will be coming up. Still Anaheim 2, Tampa Bay 1. New pitcher Esteban Yan. First ball swinging Garrett Anderson. And just like that, Quentin McCracken puts the squeeze on out number 1. There's Esteban Yan from the Dominican Republic. Big guy, 6 feet 4 inches tall. He's only 23 years of age. Had been in the Baltimore system, and before that with the Montreal organization. And this guy appears to be quite a prize, drafted in the expansion draft. There's ball 1 to Phil Nevin. By the way, Garrett Anderson 0 for 4 in this game. Esteban Yan. 11 in the 3rd innings, no runs, only 1 hit allowed.
10 punch outs.
He pitched 5 perfect innings in their memorable victory, a 13-inning victory over the Minnesota Twins. They won 13-12. And we retired 15 consecutive hitters in that game. This is kind of a different look after you've been watching the 65-mile-an-hour knucklers from Dennis Springer. Springer went 7 innings, gave up 2 runs and 6 hits, 4 strikeouts, 3 walks. Can't get a win, but he certainly kept his club in the game. Certainly does not deserve to lose one. So Springer is gone, and now the much harder throwing Esteban Yan takes over. It's foul. Looks like this stuff's got a lot of movement on it too.
He's got a good fastball, good moving fastball. Actually, this is his first time he pitched since, you know, April 16th. I mean, he's had a bad arm, but so you expect him maybe to be a little wild at this time.
Waiting for it, Dave Martinez, the right fielder. 2 men gone here in the 8th inning. Esteban Yan got into 3 games with the Baltimore Orioles last year and 4 games with Baltimore the year before, and never had much success at the big league level. His ERA in those 7 previous big league games, 10.89. He was 11-5 at Rochester last year with a 3.10 ERA. There was a story, Joe, about how Yan came to be available in the expansion draft. The story was that there was some disagreement in the Baltimore front office about whether they should protect Rafael Palmeiro or Esteban Yan, and the decision was made to protect Palmeiro, although there was an argument that Palmeiro probably, with his salary and the final year of contract, wouldn't be drafted anyway. At any rate, whatever the story, or even if that story is accurate or not, Yan ends up at Tampa Bay, and however it happened, they're certainly glad to have him. Young guy with a great arm.
Well, that's what you look for if you are drafting these pitchers. You look for a guy to have a great arm, have good stuff. Figure you can teach him how to pitch.
That's pretty much the theory of Chuck Lamar with this young ball club and how they intend to build. That is caught by Butler. Yan continues to make it look easy. It's 2-1 though. The Angels are leading. Sorrento coming up. Here's the Shell game summary. 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error for Tampa Bay, or for Anaheim. 1 run, 7 hits, 1 error for Tampa Bay. McDowell had to leave with some achiness in his elbow. Cecil Fielder has had 2 for 4 in this game with a single and a double, and he scored the go-ahead run. And for the Devil Rays, a frustrating ball game. Many runners, but only the 1 run. We're heading into the last of the 8th inning now, and Jerome Walton has come on as a pinch hitter for Paul Sorrento, and now James has been brought in relief of Robertson. We'll be right back. There is Mike James, the right-hander, on in relief. Rich Robertson Jerome Walton, the veteran right-handed hitter, announced as a pinch hitter for Sorrento. Now Frank Howard, the acting manager for the regular skipper, Larry Rothschild, who was ejected from this game, will stay in there. They don't have any left-handed hitters available on the bench. All of their substitute hitters are right-handed. Walton standing in. They need base runners down by a run. James throws hard. Pretty good movement. Walton for the year hitting .360. 9 for 25, 3 doubles, 3 batted in. He is 1 for 3 as a pinch hitter. It's slowly third base side. It's a fair ball. He is out just barely at first base. Holland's got a great arm.
Yes, he does.
He needed it there.
Well, this ball is chopped down the line. He's not sure if it's going to go foul. But you can see that Hollins feels it in fair territory and then makes a good, accurate, strong throw to first base. Half a step.
One down. Bobby Smith has walked twice and been hit once. Been on base 3 times. Slider spins in there for a strike. Mike James is a native Floridian. He faces Bobby Smith. Devil Rays down 2-1 to the Angels. Strike 2 call. Left-handed hitter Rich Butler is on deck. 2-1 for the Angels. It was a tight ball game last night into the late innings. And the Angels broke it open in the 8th inning with a 5-run rally. They were leading only 2-1 into the 8th last night. Struck him out with a slider. 3 sliders. See you later.
Well, the last one is especially a good pitch in that it starts in the strike zone and just dives out of the strike zone. Nothing that Bobby Smith could do with that pitch at all. This is a view. There you see the rotation down. And Bobby Smith swings over the top.
Now Rich Butler grounded out, walked in single. And a good fastball in there for a strike on the inside. 2-1 for the Angels. That slider, and he takes it a little bit low. 26,882 is the crowd here. Rich Butler, a native of Canada, from the East York neighborhood of Toronto. His brother Rob played for the Blue Jays back in '93 when they won the World Series for the 2nd year in a row. Over the top of that slider. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
And that was a hard slider right there.
Butler hit 24 homers with 87 RBIs for Syracuse last year in the International League. Only 24 years of age. 2-2. Rich Butler was the 5th pick for the Devil Rays in the expansion draft. They need something big to happen. Down by a run. We're in the 8th. Just got a piece of that one. And of course, when you get to the 9th against the Angels, it's Troy Percival time. Although he's been rested since Wednesday after he pitched in that ball game against Baltimore. He had some stiffness in his arm. He's not pitched since, but said yesterday that he was ready to pitch. They didn't need him yesterday. Struck him out with a fastball, and the inning is over. That's 5 scoreless innings by the Angels bullpen. We go to the 9th. 2-1 Angels. Sunday night baseball, top of the 9th coming up. The Angels lead the Devil Rays 2-1. Don't forget, there's another big night of baseball on Wednesday night. Wednesday night baseball from Yankee Stadium in New York. Ken Griffey Jr. will take the Mariners in along with A-Rod, Alex Rodriguez, Tino Martinez, and the Yankees will be there waiting for him. Derek Jeter, Mariners and Yanks, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. That's Wednesday night baseball on ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. There is Roberto Hernandez, the veteran closer. Finished last season with San Francisco and helped the Giants make it into the National League playoffs. And Hernandez has struggled at times with the Devil Rays this year.
Well, he still has a good fastball in 90 miles an hour plus, but he's been a little erratic, wild, and
see that? Well,
right.
Almost half of the batters he's faced have reached base against him.
9 bases on balls in 9 innings.
Yeah, his stats are backwards.
Yeah.
He got 9 walks and only 3 strikeouts. Usually he's at a strikeout an inning or even better. Here is Carlos Garcia. Flying to right center, and line to short. 0 for 3. Gary DiSarcina on deck, and then Darren Erstad, the leadoff man, scheduled third. 2-1 Anaheim. Out in front of the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. You see the folks back there, Joe, in the stands, in those seats with the little they're watching the game on the terminal. They're 50 feet behind the actual game, and they're watching it on the computer. Here they are. Of course, they can always. Yeah. How you doing down there? Can you see everything all right? There's a swing and a miss. Roberto. Quickly ahead of Garcia, 0-2.
Well, that fastball had a lot of movement on it at 93 miles an hour.
You see, that guy's got an earphone. He could be listening to us, Joe, but he's not wearing it. And he struck him out.
Well, Garcia was completely overmatched there. And that is tough to do after a guy's been out there throwing 60 miles an hour like Springer was, and then all of a sudden you have to face someone throwing 93 miles an hour fastball and then coming with the splitter. Very difficult for a right-hander to handle that in that situation.
Now Gary DiSarcina, who has struck out, popped to second and flied to center. Broken bat. Third baseman Smith gets up, throws him out. Well, everything we've heard about him defensively, we've seen tonight. He looks real smooth over there.
Well, he looks good as a player. I mean, he looks like a player. This ball is hit off the jammed him. He broke his bat, but he hits it in the right spot. But a good stop there by Bobby Smith. He gets up and flips over the first base.
2 down now. Darren Erstad coming up. Erstad has been on base 3 times tonight. A single, a double, a walk. He's hitting .344. 2-1 for the Angels. He's got 2 of the Angels' 6 hits. The Angels got a home run from Edmonds in the 3rd. Fielder scored on a Mayshore bloop single in the 6th. Those are their 2 runs. There's a guy downstairs watching the game on his computer terminal, and he's got the earphones on. He's wondering now, are we talking about him? Shortstop. Throws out Erstad. It's time for Troy Percival now, the hard-throwing closer of the Angels. Had some arm stiffness the other night. 2-1. We'll be back. There's the Angels' hard-throwing closer, Troy Percival, to come on now and try and save this one for the Angels. Percival making his 9th appearance of the year. He got 4 saves. And in 8 innings, he has 10 strikeouts. You see his numbers there.
And the one thing he does is he tries to overpower the hitters. He also has a good curveball. And the fact that the Devil Rays only have right-handed hitters on their bench, they're going to have to send up a right-hander. Mike Kelly's going to pinch hit for DeFelice. So if you are Frank Howard, you look down, look, you got Flaherty, Ledesma, and Kelly left. You decide which one's the better fastball hitter and send him up there. Plus, you look at the fact that Kelly can run a little bit, so you'd like to have him leading off the inning in case he does get on.
Kelly used to be in the Atlanta Braves organization. In fact, we saw him back in 1994 when we covered the, what was it, the Governor's Cup.
Governor's Cup.
In the International League. Kelly. Got 140 at bats last year with the Reds and hit .293, 6 home runs. Ball 1. Percival had a tender right elbow after his game Wednesday against Baltimore, but did report that he was available to work last night if they needed him, and he is in there tonight. He ended up on the disabled list last year with some arm trouble.
Well, if you're Terry Collins, you have to hope that he's okay and he feels okay, because you took out Mike James, who was throwing exceptionally well.
Swung at it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Yeah, James just blew him away. 1 inning, 2 strikeouts. Made it look easy. Two to 1. Last chance for the Devil Rays. Stocker on deck. McCracken due up 3rd in the inning. There's a high fly ball, a shallow left, and Anderson, who is very deep, gets there. Don't forget now, stay tuned right after the ball game. Dan Patrick and Kenny Mayne will be with you with Sports Center. NBA playoffs ongoing. Greg Maddux got roughed up at home today by the Colorado Rockies.
I actually watched part of that, John.
Yeah, it was kind of a stunner.
Yeah, Castillo was bending everything.
Conversation with George Carl on Sports Center with Kenny Mayne and Emmy award-winning anchor Dan Patrick. Here's ball 1 to Kevin Stocker. 0 for 3. He is the 9th place hitter. Leadoff man Quentin McCracken is on deck. Two and 0. This indoor ballpark, we can hear the echo of that glove popping all around the ballpark.
Well, 94 miles an hour usually makes a pretty good sound.
See the Angel bullpen backing up Jack McDowell has been up to the task so far tonight. Although somewhere deep within the catacombs underneath this ballpark, manager Larry Rothschild may still be fuming about that call on the play at second base in the 5th inning when they had a great opportunity to score. He got ejected from the game arguing that call. That's a strike. In that spot, had Martinez been called safe in the 5th, they would have had 2nd and 3rd with 1 out, McGriff coming up. Instead, they merely had a runner at 3rd and 2 out. They walked McGriff and got out of it. On the outside corner, Percival now makes it 3 and 2. Here's Dave Martinez. Devil Rays lost 4 of their last 5, and they're trailing in this one 2-1. Left center field, Edmonds, out of room out there. And the Devil Rays are down to their final out. Quentin McCracken, the leadoff man, coming up. He started the game off with a double, scored a run. Looked like it was going to be easy then. But he has not reached base since, and they have not scored since. And while certainly that was a big call that went against them in the 5th inning, when Martinez was called out, the fact that they've had 1 hit with 8 at bats with men in scoring position, they've had lots of other chances to score and have not been able to do it. That's ball 1. So perhaps for the first time, Joe, maybe a little frustration for the Devil Rays. I mean, you know, they lost last night 7-1. They lost 10-3 the night before. Texas knocked them around a little bit. A couple of days, but now they're just 1 out away from being swept at home.
Well, that's kind of the anatomy of a losing streak. When you hit well, you know, when you get a well-pitched ball game, you do not hit, and when you're hitting, you do not get a well-pitched ball game. So that's a little streak that everyone goes through.
Cecil Fielder, who was one of the heroes of this ball game, at least up till now, in an unusual way, legging out a double on a bloop and then scoring on a bloop single from second base. That's the run that has them leading. Talk about frustration. That's frustration when Cecil Fielder may well beat you that way
With his legs.
3-1 to McCracken. Jim Edmonds also One of the heroes with a home run back in the third that tied the game. Called a strike.
It's interesting here. McCracken takes 2 strikes trying to get on base. And he's a guy that doesn't walk that often.
Only 1 walk, although we tried to give him one earlier.
He tried to take one.
Tried to take one, and then he ended up hitting a double. 3-2 with 2 down. He struck him out. And Troy Percival wraps it up. The Angels are on a little bit of a roll. They come into Tampa Bay and sweep them 3 in a row. Omar Olivares in relief of McDowell wins it. Springer, the tough luck loser. And the Angels head for Baltimore now, still hanging just behind Texas in the West. Next Sunday will be in Anaheim to see the Angels again. Frank Thomas and the White Sox take on the Angels and Jim Edmonds, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. The final score again, the Angels 2, the Devil Rays 1. Now John Miller for Joe Morgan. Thanks for joining us. Good night from St. Petersburg. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports.